within the community. And then I started out acting and writing and producing and things like that within the, entertainment world. Over the pandemic, got involved with content creating on TikTok and then Instagram. And it sort of evolved into me creating, as you said, hopefully highly relatable content for primarily the Sapphic community, which has been really, really fulfilling and amazing for me for the last few years. So eventually that kind of evolved into me creating my own mentorship program and offering. I know how incredibly important and empowering it can be, especially within specific communities for youth and adults. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you very much. We're very happy to have you as well. So I think let's go around and do a little intro. We've got Simon, we've got Izem, we've got Jack as well, so our panelists. And then I'll kind of hop into a little bit more about Say Yes in general and perhaps myself as well. Jack, could you kick us off, please? A little bit perhaps about yourself, your role with Say Yes, maybe a quick background related to mentoring or LGBTQ+ advocacy.
Wicked. Lovely to be here with you guys. Sorry you can't see me. I'm still trying to play around my settings to work out how to do my camera. So yeah, my name's Jack. I'm basically an OAP, and for our international audience, that stands for Old Age Pensioner, because I'm 30 now. And I first heard of Say Yes when I was 25, as I was a care leaver. So I grew up in care, and I was looking for some support and kind of guidance and help with direction with my life. So I was lucky enough to take part in the pilot in the UK, and then stayed in contact with Say Yes, and got to spend almost 2 years working with the team as mentee liaison. Had a second mentor who helped me kind of develop my skills whilst I was working with Say Yes. And both my mentors were very different people, but benefited me in a really, really big way. And they were both really accepting of who I am. So I'm also a trans person. I was assigned female at birth and transitioned when I was 16, living in a kids' home. So it was great to be part of an organisation that saw me for me rather than like my background and everything. And then more recently, I stepped down from my role and joined as an ambassador instead, so that I could pursue a few different other work opportunities. But I'm really happy to be here today and still be a part of the Say Yes family.
Thank you, Jack. Simon, you're up next on my screen, if you wouldn't mind doing the same.
Thanks, Fiona. Thanks, Jack, as well. So Simon, I'm living in the UK. I'm gay, and I came across Say Yes. Fortunately, a friend of mine sent me over an advert on Instagram, I think it was. It must have been about a year and a half ago. And it came at the perfect time. I messaged, it might have been Colleen or Fiona, I'm not sure who. And then joined the program as a mentor back in, I think, November last year it was. And I've been mentoring now since then. So coming up to the final stage of my mentoring program. And yeah, really want to give back as well to the community. I've had a somewhat turbulent childhood in terms of being gay, and struggled a lot with my sexuality growing up. And then came out quite, I guess, relatively late, but there's no real time for it, around 17, 18. And yeah, really enjoy my mentoring journey so far as well.
Brilliant. Thank you ever so much, Simon. Ethan, would you mind also doing the same?
So yes, I am Izem Rafson, or Izem is my nickname. I am transmasc, non-binary, came out trans about, I would say 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago, to friends. But sexuality, high school. I came out as bi when I was 15. And the process has been I'm 27 now. I just started my mentoring journey this literally 2 months ago. So I am very much a newbie regarding mentorship.
Thank you, Izem. And then as for myself, so I joined Say Yes as a mentor in 2020. So Say Yes was founded in 2008 in South Africa as an in-person mentoring program to support young people aging out of residential care in primarily Cape Town. So sort of very local, a very specific intervention in a very specific situation. So preparing young people for transition to independent living and supporting them through that new chapter in their lives as well, through providing one-on-one guidance advocacy support. So in 2020, lockdown, can't do in-person mentoring anymore. That actually opened up a whole new world for us at Say Yes, where we now do online mentorships. So this has opened us up to a global mentoring pool, really, depending on time zones, how late or early people are willing to get up and train and do mentoring. Now, that's where I came on board. So started as a volunteer mentor, came on as a transition specialist. So for us, that's a member of staff that supports matches of mentors and mentees working together on their mentoring journey. And then I'm now looking after the team in the UK that's looking after those matches. I like to think of myself as a lesbian, so I'm out there with my can-do attitude. Need me to fix that telly? I'll give that a go. Change that aisle? Yeah, lesbian. So that's me. And certainly it was important to me as a young person to have, lots of different mentors from lots of different walks of life. In fact, coming into this mentoring program, I was thinking I would like a mentor now. And we're setting up internal mentoring systems at Say Yes so that we can also get the benefit of mentorship. So just to give a brief overview for those of us who are not currently volunteering or benefiting from having a mentor with Say Yes, we do 7 to 9 months one-on-one mentorships. So mentees actually get to choose the mentor that they work with, and then it's a structured formal mentoring program. So we are looking to support independence and well-being through improved quality of decision making and improved consistency of healthy practices. We are using research-backed techniques to take our mentees through a cycle of the potential for behavior change, and then mentoring is the platform through which we can deliver any interventions that young person might be willing to take on. It's that relationship that allows a young person the possibility of taking on a new perspective or perhaps new behavior if that's what's right for them. So very person-centered. We look at the whole person. We're working on domains which feed into independence, domains which feed into well-being, and we're taking through a process of becoming more aware and accepting of what's happening in all areas of life, exploring options where a young person might like to make some changes, have some growth, and then goal setting and revising and reviewing. And then we do, where funding allows, invite young people to come back to work with a second mentor, a third mentor. We will support young people up to the age of 24 for our London-based mentoring program, or for our UK-wide program for young people with care experience. We do go up to the age of 32 as well. And that all hinges on volunteer mentors. So we can't support all of the young people that we support if we don't have our volunteer mentors. So it does kind of rely on that. And it'd be interesting maybe to talk about being a mentor and what that feels like for those of us who are doing it. I know that certainly for me, it was a great boost to my own well-being and sort of highly interesting. So that's the Say Yes overview. So here we are. As we're honouring Pride Month, we're also acknowledging the ongoing journey towards belonging, identity and support. And mentorship, we strongly believe, can play a crucial role in that. So we're going to start with our panelists discussing mentorship, how that can help to create a sense of community and belonging, help to build safe spaces, empower young people to be confident in themselves and their identity. And then towards the end, we'll take about 20 minutes to open the discussion for questions and comments. So we should be wrapping up in an hour and 10 minutes is the idea. We'll see how we go. We'll certainly try not to overrun that. So first of all, let's sort of set the stage. Mentoring. So I want us to kind of think about what mentorship means to us. So Alexi, on your website, I know you are offering now. So this is, well, you can tell us in a minute. You are now offering one-to-one mentorship, right, with you. So someone can go to your website, they can opt to book a time with you for mentoring. I know that you're working specifically with the Sapphic community on things, identity exploration, dating support, finding and building queer community, and also offering creative guidance for Sapphic artists. But I noticed that you'd written on there, so this is not therapy, this is mentorship. So I'm curious, perhaps you could start us off by explaining, well, what does mentorship mean to you personally? How would you define mentorship?
Right. Yeah, I think that's an important question to explore. I think mentorship for me is it's really just sort of holding a container. It's it's lived experience, right? So, I think a lot of the people that come to me, they really just want to be seen and heard in a way that isn't structured in such a way that could be defined as like therapy or, a specific coaching program. It's really just sort of a way to build on, a certain sense of community they're looking for. And so that doesn't really always look one way, it's very specific to the person, and how I can really, not to call back the, wicked press tour too much, but hold space. So it's, yeah, exactly, the finger hold. So for me, it's very much just, it's holding a container.
I muted myself. I should not do that. I will always forget to unmute. Don't assume you'll remember. Okay, so you're coming at it from a lived experience point of view, giving somebody your time and attention. You're saying so to allow them to be seen and heard, holding space for them to explore these issues. Interesting. And we can get more into that. I have certainly questions. Jack, what does mentoring mean to you personally? You're also on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So for me, it was mostly about the guidance that really helped me. So like growing up in care, you meet, especially in children's homes, you meet so many adults who are normally like well-meaning, but like they tell you what to do. They're like, oh, if you just do X, Y, or Z, and that sounds like fair enough. But then you have like a staff team of like 12 or 15 people in the house and then multiple placements. So by the time you end up leaving care, you've been given like strict instructions from like quite a lot of people, and everyone's different. So everyone's life path is different. Whereas with mentoring, it was like sort of a more gentler approach. And instead of dictating or telling me or kind of like coming off as like a strict head teacher kind of thing, it was more about guidance and allowing that space to kind of find out what my path looked like, if that makes sense.
Yes, and I know we define guidance at Say Yes in quite a specific way, as you mentioned, Jack, that it's not actually about giving advice. So this was my worry as a mentor coming to Say Yes. I thought, what do I know how to tell a young person? Like, what do I know about life? I'm still making it all up. But actually, the way that Say Yes comes at guidance is it's about listening to the young person, getting them more aware and accepting of what's true for them, and then helping them to explore the options that they would like to explore. And it's specifically not about giving them advice. It's not about telling them what to do. We can perspective share. We have, powerful stories that we can share. And this is where that, whatever your own lived experience is, can come in so usefully, that if you are trying to get somebody to take on a new perspective, it's very powerful to do that within storytelling from your own experience, rather than, as you say, Jack, coming in and saying, well, obviously, do this, do this, do this. And then you've got 15 people telling you to do slightly different things. And also what you haven't taught that young person is anything about how to make their own decisions or decide what their own path might be. So yeah, I think definitely for us at Say Yes, that it would be about giving somebody the tools to go forth and live their life and make their decisions sort of later on. So yeah, so just to elucidate what I think Jack is meaning there by guidance, it doesn't mean somebody saying do this, do this. It's actually somebody guiding you through your own process of how to make your own decision about what's right for you. But enough from me. Simon, what does mentorship mean to you?
So I think what Alexi and Jack have already said is pretty much, synonymous what I feel mentorship is. I think alongside that, definitely holding a space, allowing the individual to take things at their own pace, and that helps build their confidence as well. I think, making sure that you're there for them. Sometimes the conversation might not go down at the structure or the programmatic way that we've laid out in Say Yes, and that's okay. That's totally fine, right? that's okay. It's good to actually have a conversation about something different some weeks, and it's not always that the mentee is wanting to do what we initially planned to do, if you like. And so yeah, making sure that people feel like the mentees feel like they are the one that's driving the conversation. They're the one that's leading the conversation as well, and you are there to support and enable. And what I've particularly enjoyed as well is being able to watch my mentees' confidence grow when I share my own perspective on situations and have them feel seen and feel like actually it's okay to be that way. Well, Simon also went through that experience. Simon did that as well in his past. So yeah, perspective sharing I think is really powerful in addition to what's already been said as well.
Thanks, Simon. Isam, anything to add here on what does mentoring mean to you personally? I know you said you're at the beginning of your journey, so it might be interesting to think about, have you already learned something new about mentoring or changed your perspective on what mentoring could be?
I've had mentoring before, back when I was like 17, 18 years old, but it was an acting mentorship, and funnily enough, I'm still in contact with that mentor, and we actually call each other hermanos, both of us being Spanish. We call each other brothers, and we have a best friendship going on, and like God, what is like 10 years later, 9-10 years later. But this it's only been like about a month for Say Yes mentorship. But everything that everybody has said so far is definitely something I agree with personally. I come from a house didn't come from care, but I came from a house with a DV house, domestic violence, so not great upbringing, and so very similar, whereas you have these set of rules and then you are told to do things a certain way type of thing, and when you become an adult, you don't have that support, and having a mentorship is very much more like guidance. As like everybody else has said, it's going like you're guided rather than told what to do, because you spent your entire life being told what to do and not having that autonomy to be able to make decisions for yourself in a way. And then but over here, you still have that support, you have that guidance, but in a way that where you can make decisions yourself, if you get what I mean. But yeah.
Thank you very much, and thank you for sharing that about your background and being transparent. Appreciate you being open and vulnerable. So I'm wondering then, so building on that question, so we've talked about what mentorship means to us personally. Could you share a moment from your own life where, or it could be from somebody else's, but a moment where mentorship has made a meaningful difference? So yes, whether that be in your own life or somebody else's, can you think back to a moment where mentorship has made a meaningful difference? We'll come back to you, Alexi, if that's okay. Roundtable, we're just going around.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just from my experience mentoring now, I can think of a million that have been so impactful. But going back to sort of my experience growing up, I didn't have a lot of queer people around me as examples. And I did have one. It was like a theater day camp that I went to, and she wasn't, particularly a mentor per se, but she was one of the sort of acting camp teachers, and she was, I believe she identified as bisexual back then, and I, wasn't quite sure where I fit just yet, but I knew that I was queer, and she was very much like, we got to explore, I got to sort of see her model almost where I wanted to go. I wanted to be sort of a leader within the sort of theater realm, and she was a theater teacher and things like that. So she, and we sort of did develop a relationship that would have sort of mirrored a mentorship structure, for lack of a better word. And it was lovely. It's like the one person I had for a really long time that sort of modeled something that I was not seeing already represented. So I hope that's what we can all sort of bring to others.
So so in that sense, you're thinking of it in terms of like a role model.
Yes.
Someone who can show you the possibilities. Of who
Yeah.
to be, and also interesting working in a similar field. So thinking about it, mentoring as maybe role model within a kind of work sphere as well.
I think so. Yeah, I think that's important.
And I believe you've had other mentors as well within the theatre world more recently coming into producing. Is that right?
In terms of just producers that have sort of mentored me in that space?
I believe so. I was reading an interview earlier that was specifically coming at it from the side of, like who's been a mentor for you? Yes, in the producing space. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Yes. More recently. There's, I can name many lead producers in the industry that definitely took me under their wing. One, I produced alongside Leia Salonga, which was amazing. And now she's a very good friend of mine, and she's, been able to, she's guided me a bit through this crazy theater space because she's such a icon legend, and it's been remarkable to sort of have her take on things and her support and her wisdom, so that was a good call out. Thanks for thanks for that was a good push.
No, of course. Yes, and also I think because I know we're here, it's the Pride Roundtable, but I think it's good to just expand our thinking about mentors and who mentors can be and what we can be mentored in as well. Just think about mentorship in general. And I think certainly a space like coming into the New York theatre world, building a community and a network of people who've been there and done that is probably the only way in, really. Someone who can champion you.
Yeah, I am a queer person, in the theater world. Does it necessarily have to be, another queer person that's helping me sort of find my identity within this, other community? No, not necessarily, but, because of their particular lived experience, it's sort of modeling something adjacent for me. So I can sort of see, well, where do I can see these things that they're sort of modeling, but here's where I fit, so it makes total sense.
Yeah, thank you. Simon, I'm going to hop to you. I'm wondering, could you give us any examples, a moment where mentorship has made a meaningful difference in your life or perhaps in someone that you've witnessed?
Sure. So I think for me, the most prominent example would be in my career. So I can remember a time when I was really struggling to find myself and find where my next role was going to be. And someone very kindly in the business at the time came up to me and said, "Would you like me to mentor you?" And I accepted. And I went through a few sessions, and the result ended up with me finding a brand new position in the company, which was much, much more suited to me and gave me many opportunities. And I think the whole experience made me feel very supported. It helped me grow my confidence, helped with my decision making without telling me what to do or where to go. And the result, of course, was that I ended up in a much better position career-wise. So, huge benefit to me in my career, that was.
Very interesting. Thank you, Simon. Yes, and often when we think about mentoring, we think about the career space in particular. What's coming to mind for me now is somebody who very obviously was trying to mentor me when I accidentally went into a professional environment in a small blip on my much more creative CV, who clearly was thinking, I'm gonna take this young lady under my wing and show her what's what and tell her how to be. But instead of doing anything like listening to me or seeing what would work for me, was very much like, you must do this, you must stay at work until this time, you can't behave like this, you must behave like this, what is this you're doing over here with your singing? Because I also sing, you have to make a decision. And I think inadvertently mentored me out of doing anything in the professional realm. So for me, it was beneficial because being pushed so hard made me say, absolutely not, I'm in completely the wrong space. But I think it was an interesting example of how mentoring can go wrong if you decide what is right for somebody else and that you're just going to go in and say, do this and everything will be all right. Luckily, I only 99% of the time do I do what I'm told. So, Jack, curious for you, and is there a moment where mentorship has made a meaningful difference in your life?
Yeah, so my first mentor It was really nice to have a different perspective to life, because most of like the adults in my life had been sort of working in the care sector or education, whereas he came from like a completely different world. I'd never have bumped into him, like on the street or at a pub or something like that. I'd never have talked to him or anything, and it gave me a completely unique way of thinking about my future. So everyone around me had kind of like implied or specifically stated that like education was the path for me, but I quickly realized that like that's not for me. And because my mentor like came from like a corporate world, he kind of saw the world in a different way and really gave me an insight into where I could take my life going forward without it like focusing on just education or something like that, and doing like a dog walking business, which was really fun and built up a complete community for me in my area as well.
Thank you. Okay, so yeah, it was the importance of a new perspective, somebody who came from a totally different world, that actually you found quite helpful.
Yeah,
he could see different possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. Like no one, like, I'm not saying dog walking is bad, but like the average care worker or teacher or social worker or anything was more like, oh no, push yourself, Jack, go and do a degree. Because I think in society we often view or label like people as successful if they can get a degree and get a good job. And like nobody kind of thinks being a dog walker is ambitious, but it was the perfect job for me at the time. So I really welcomed, and like he didn't judge, even though he was in a big corporate job. He didn't like think, oh no, you can just do dog walking because that's all you're capable of. He saw the whole life approach and all the benefits that way.
Yes, I mean, certainly to me, dog walking sounds like a wonderful way to spend your days, until it rains. So
Yeah,
only 40% of the time in the UK. Brilliant. Thank you, Jack. What about you, Izem? You mentioned about having worked with a mentor in that acting space. Can you think of a time when mentoring has made a meaningful difference, either in your life or anything you've witnessed?
So for me personally, my mentor, his name was Cairo, and we got paired because both of us at the time I was trying out a different name, and I went with the most stereotypical trans name, Kai. So they put Kai and Cairo together. Both of us, him growing up in Spain, I'm half Spanish, both of us being mixed race, both of us being trans, being actors. And they were like, you know what would be funny? Putting these two together. Which I am very thankful to this day that I know they put us together kind of as a joke. But I'm very thankful to this day that we got paired up together. But he gave me a lot of, when I had joined when I had this mentorship, I was doing an acting course and it was paired up together. And it was during my gap year, before I went to uni. And I was kind of bit lost at that time about what I wanted to do, where I was going to go, all of that. And also because I was a baby trans at the time, I had just about come out. I just about cut my hair again, all of that. I got a lot of help and support and guidance on both a creative aspect and in the trans realm, which Jack knows as well as me, how the UK, the GIC system is a nightmare to deal with. So
gender identity care, just double checking in case not everyone's familiar.
Oh, so GIC is gender identity clinic. So the trans healthcare system in the UK. That's what it's called. So it's about 6 years. When I was on the system, I'm still under the GIC, but when I was initially on the waiting list, it was 6 years waiting list. I know from now it's 7 years waiting list now. Yeah, the system's quite complicated, but I had that support from my mentor, from Cairo, from the beginning, and it was a massive help. But when everyone was talking, I remembered I actually did some mentoring when I was 19, because I used to be part of the Ealing Youth Council, my area's youth council and parliament, and we had a lot of the younger ones. And at the time, this was again I was in a mentorship, and I also was a mentee for somewhere else, and I was a mentor for some of the kids in some of the kids in our system in the young adult centre. And I remember working with this one kid, and I was like, because it was more face to face, and I had gone to him going like, oh, let's go out and get some food. It's on me, because I was like, yeah, we can go, because we were really early, and I was like, I'm happy to cover it. And he's like, oh, I can't go certain places. He told me why. He opened his bag and he had a knife and a bandana. If you know London has a postcode war, bit of knife crime stuff. But I had a one-to-one with him, and I talked to him, and then a few weeks later he came to me and he was like, yeah, no, I threw away my belly, and I kind of taken the step, and I've helped him also. I helped him art-wise, because that is one of my art pieces. So I'm an artist as well.
The purple one.
Yeah, it's one of my. It's the purple one, the square one, is of my best friend. Sadly, they passed away. But also that painting over there, the blue one.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I'm an artist as well. So I did some one-to-one art lessons for some of the kids, mentored them on because a lot of them had ADHD and autism, and myself, I'm ADHD and autistic, and I was like, okay, how would I have wanted to be taught? Because the way that you teach an ADHD autistic kid is very much different to how you teach a AB kid, and a lot of them picked up a lot faster than when I was learning how to do art, because I didn't have that support. It's the big thing about mentorship is being there for people. Like somebody said this best. It was be who you want to see in the world when you're.
Yes. So, and in fact, that I think we're going to thank you very much, Izzy. We're going to return to that, I think, in some of our future questions, thinking about, yes, our past selves and what might have been helpful then. So I want to bring us on to thinking specifically about mentorship and the LGBTQ plus experience, so narrowing down a little bit. So Alexi, I noticed on your website that you'd started your mentoring venture because you noticed a need for it in the conversations people were seeking you out to have. So you were mentoring before you were officially calling it mentoring, accidentally mentoring, or people were placing you in the position of being a mentor without your buy-in necessarily. But I'm curious then, what unique challenges do you see LGBTQ youth or emerging adults facing that mentorship can help address?
Yeah, I think the main thing is community. The thing I hear most is how do I build community? How do I find community? What does that look like for me? And it's very specific to for a myriad of reasons, where they live, their circumstances, how they grew up. Like it's community is a very complex thing in our little pocket of the world. And so I think that's a big challenge. And I think mentorship alone does provide a sense of community, because even if you have one person, you have one person to be able to talk about these things that maybe you don't feel ready or safe to explore with, your family or your friends that might all be straight, like whatever it may be. The community piece is really important. And so, really kind of specific to each person, kind of shaping how you can build upon that, beyond just the mentorship piece. And yeah, I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But, in terms of other challenges, there's not feeling represented, as I kind of touched on earlier, not having this sort of, I mean, even for me, I did know that I was queer when I was 13. But it's still kind of like, I have no idea how did I know? Because I really wasn't seeing anything modeled around me that really sort of would represent how I felt inside, or the type of person I would be attracted to. So yeah, the representation and kind of, again, with that lived experience, mentoring can be very, very helpful. And then sort of identifying things that we now in this day and age do have more of, that we certainly have a long way to go. But sort of, just helping to build that, any semblance of like reassurance today that yeah, you're not alone.
Okay, so for you, I'm hearing like it's really important to be a role model in terms of representation. And perhaps if you've got somebody who is isolated and coming to grips with sexuality, it's different, right, from being in a particular ethnic group or a particular religion or something. You don't necessarily, you're not necessarily born and raised in a community that you then find out, oh, this is my community now, actually, as it turns out. I'm one of these. So it could, So it could be, so kind of important, essentially, if somebody's got questions, so you're coming into a new community, you've got questions, you might not know who to ask, who is a safe person to ask. And there you are. It's like, hang on a minute, I can go Alexi Melvin's website. She's telling me, don't worry, like I am of the community. So like, this is a safe space, someone you can ask. Whereas who knows, you may have somebody who's completely isolated and not know someone that they can ask such questions of, particularly. So we're thinking there for somebody who might have specific questions about the LGBTQ plus experience, they may not have somebody in their immediate network who is a safe space to go to. And also, yes, the importance of being a role model, and for people just being able to see a possibility, right? See a way to be like you with your mentor in the theatre, like, oh, here is a bisexual woman, here's a woman, a non-straight woman. Like, okay, now I can imagine a new possibility, right? Okay, thank you. I'm wondering, Simon, perhaps we'll come to you. Is there something that you can think of in terms of unique challenges for LGBTQ, even adults, that mentorship might address? And then we definitely should ask our young people as well what they think.
Yeah, I think a lot of my own experiences in my own life, for example, are kind of systemic things as well. So not necessarily only for LGBTQ plus, but for example, acceptance, being authentic, like being who you are. I certainly struggled with that a lot growing up, both in personal life and also at work. And I feel like that's definitely a challenge that mentorship can help with. I felt very different growing up, and I couldn't pinpoint why I felt different, but I knew I felt different in the workplace and in my friend group. As I struggled through that journey of identifying who I was and my sexuality, I would have loved to have been able to lean on a mentor at that period of my life, to be able to feel like, actually, it's okay to be me, and being me is enough. So I feel like a lot of these struggles aren't necessarily only for our community, but they definitely get exacerbated by being gay, for sure. So yeah, that's my experience.
Thank you. So yes, Ethan and Jack, over to you. Obviously you have your own lens, but we can think about a wider community as well. So just thinking, what unique challenges do you find, or do you feel that LGBTQ youth are facing that mentorship can help address?
Brilliant. So I think the first thing is I really like how as a trans person I was matched with someone else who identifies as male, because it felt like an affirmation with my gender, if that makes sense. So, for example, I know of trans people who, when they come out still at school and they might be attending an all girls school, how invalidating that feels to them every day when they're trying to live as their like gender if they identify as male. And so the fact that it is done in a kind of caring approach, like, and you're able to choose to have a mentor based on your gender identity, I think that's brilliant, and that really helps me because I think often in the care system it's hard to get a role model like for a consistent amount of time, like the mentoring provides with Say Yes, and to have that 9 months of weekly meeting with another guy and kind of figure out how to be like a adult man, it was really really helpful, if that makes sense. Like really gender affirming as well. And I think like a lot of things that the LGBT community face are things like isolation and increased anxiety when trying to like socialize with people, because you don't want to risk telling someone that you're either your sexuality or your gender identity and then have them reject you. Whereas having a mentor, it feels like you're being seen for who you are, and they like don't mind or care or have any strong hatred towards you for being LGBT. So it's like a really safe and welcoming environment, and I think that can be really helpful to younger LGBT people, because often we're faced with a lot of like prejudice, like even within like services like the NHS, for example. I've had a few comments when I've told people I'm trans, and like doctors get a bit funny about it and stuff. But mentoring feels like it's a safe space, and the types of people who want to become mentors like have kind of goodness in their heart and soul. So it just creates that welcoming, safe atmosphere for all LGBT young people, in my opinion.
Oh, that's great to hear. Thank you. I'm really glad you've had a positive experience in that way. Of course, we do have methods to weed out people who might wish to be mentors and not be quite so accepting. We definitely have conversations about that. Like, you know, I'm not going to tell you what you need to think or believe, but I am going to tell you that I would fully expect you to respect and mentor a young trans person if that's what happened. So if that's not going to make you comfortable, then it sounds like it's not a good fit for our program. But so I'm really glad that has been positive for you, Jack. And we can talk a little bit more about the Say Yes model. I will bring that up shortly in terms of how we do our matching. But Isam, yeah, I'm wondering anything from your side on unique challenges you think are being faced by LGBTQ plus youth that can be addressed by mentoring.
I think that like Jack like covered it pretty well. For me, as I said, like my mentor a few years back was trans themselves, and I feel like having them when I was a baby trans helped massively, because it was a supporting and guiding hand as to how to deal with everything that's going on, like NHS wise, society wise, especially coming from because I'm mixed race. I'm half Moroccan, half Spanish. So I come from a Mediterranean brown family, African family. So the culture around queerness and being LGBT is very different to say that a non-person of color would be experiencing. And having my mentor Cairo as my mentor was like really like great at the time, because we had very similar experiences, and they could guide me on how to find my community and find safe spaces for myself, and also how to navigate the world as a queer and trans actor. But my current mentor, Douglas, he's cis. And honestly, he's great for where I'm at now. I feel like probably not when I was like a baby trans. I think having Cairo when I was baby trans helped me a lot more than, say, having a cis guy, because I feel like I'm in a lot more like settled space as to my identity as a trans masc is a lot different now. And so I can focus on things more revolving my life rather than myself as a trans and queer individual. But yeah, no, it's my, it's not very much well explained, but I feel like the support I got from having being able to have a trans mentor helped a lot. And having, because I was asked if I wanted somebody who was regarding gender identity, if I wanted someone who was AFAB, or if I wanted somebody who was a guy, or like what was my preference for gender identity, and I was like going, I'm fine with whatever.
And this is like say yes. Oh, just for everybody who is not au fait with all the lingo, AFAB
means assigned female at birth.
Ah, there we go.
Yeah, so AFAB, assigned female at birth, AMAB, assigned male at birth.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, I got to pick on that aspect. So
Yeah.
having that option is definitely definitely good for a good option to have for baby trans who are potentially coming into baby trans and baby queers who are coming into mentorship.
I think it's quite interesting, because I think what's maybe going on here is we are perhaps conflating mentoring with role modeling with, no, that's really it. With almost like skill sharing, right? I think sometimes in workplace, when it's talking about mentoring, it will be something like, oh, you have somebody who is a bit further back in a particular career path, they want a mentor, and the idea is that the mentor's been there, done that exact thing, and can show you that exact pathway. Essentially, let me help you solve this problem because I've been there and done that, and I can tell you how I navigated it, at least. And you've got someone there who can explain the steps. That would be a kind of almost like a skill share side of things, which you can look from the queer angle, right? Tell me your expertise in being trans, tell me your expertise in being a gay lady, whatever it is. Tell me your expertise being non-binary, which is of huge value, I think, especially to young people, as I'm saying, because, you don't grow up, nobody teaches you, you're not in a trans family where you're being taught how to be trans, right? You're not necessarily in a gay family where you are being taught how to be gay, as if there is such a thing as how to be gay or how to be trans. But it is important, right? Just to see how other people are navigating it, so you can decide how you might want to navigate it and see those possibilities. So you've got kind of like that skill share, you've got the role modeling, you've got, and just the importance, Alexi, as you were saying, of being able to see a possibility of how you can be. If, when you are 12, 13 and thinking, hold on a minute, this whole thing that I'm seeing around me, this doesn't quite seem right. And I think things have got, this doesn't feel like a fit. I think things have got a lot better like that. That's my, going back a long time into my academic history, is looking at queer representation, specifically lesbian, female, bisexual, so sapphic identity in film, in television. There are a lot more possibilities now to see something modelled, with narrow casting. You can kind of go and find that content. But let me tell you, Ellen's 1997 coming out episode, it was a big deal. There are gays on television. Will and Grace did a huge amount to just normalize being gay, like to put that on a network TV show nationally, huge, must see TV, NBC. It did huge, and literally you could see the public attitudes change in the US over the course of that being on. Like, it's so important to see those possibilities, but also in day-to-day life, I feel things have gotten better as we've come away from shame. If you think of, the 1960s, it being illegal, how can you see any possibility if even the people who do know they're gay have to be closeted? How you can't see that, and then it's a dangerous world to navigate. How do you find your way in? It's so wonderful now. It's something that you could go to Alexi's website and be like, I need a lesbian to talk to. There's one. Thank you very much. Think of the difference there to, I'm going to have to find out where the clubs are that might get raided and I might get arrested. We are in a different world now in certain parts of the world, certainly not in all parts of the world. But it's so important. I don't know, for me, joining at 17, 18, going to like the local-ish little gay group, the little queer group, and just to see like gay adults, like, what? I've never met a gay adult. Like, how this is mind blowing. And then, just to see, okay, this is a normal thing. Like, this is a thing people do, that you can just see those possibilities. So that's the kind of the role model thing. Like, how can you be something if you can't even imagine it because you've never seen it? So importance there. And I suppose for us at Say Yes, we would tease out the difference between role modeling, skill sharing, and mentoring, in fact. And there's no reason why you can't have all three tied up together. But I know, so research, I suppose, has shown that the gender identity, race, these things are not necessarily, sexuality, matches in these areas are not necessarily required in order to have an effective mentoring relationship. It's actually things like interest, personality, and values, which are a predictor of what will be a successful relationship between mentor and mentee. However, we do recognize, I suppose, the importance of being able to, if that's something that's important to you, access someone that you feel you can relate with. The way that we would do it is we do same self-identified gender matching at Say Yes. Again, that's not because that's shown to be more effective. It's actually much more, sadly, to do with the history of where we've worked, and the communities that we have supported are disproportionately experiencing gender-based violence. So it's a sort of safeguarding thing for the females, and also for the young men, as Jack talked about, growing up in care. Actually, a lot of the people that would work in the care system tend to be female. So perhaps there is that lack of male role modeling, and actually the gender is sadly still, or sadly for some, still, that binary prison that we're all living in. But it does help us make sense of our lives. And it is important, as Jack was talking about, if that's you, if you are a young man, to look at someone, can you teach me how to be human, but can you teach me how to be a man? We can't get away from that at the moment. Give us 100 years, maybe 2, 3. But there is, I think, an importance there in role modeling along those lines. But I thought perhaps we might discuss a little bit, how important do we think overlapping identity can be? So Izim, you've touched upon it there, that at that time in your life, to have somebody from a mixed race background, to have somebody who was trans as well, that was so key for you at a certain age, and maybe age does play a part in it. But I wanted to kind of, I suppose, throw that open to everybody. How important do we think overlapping identities can be or should be in mentoring? Any volunteers?
Well, I mean, I will say, the people that I work with so far are not always, actually not at all, in my exact experience or even how I identify. Many that I work with do not identify as a lesbian, and I very much do, and many of them are, a decade younger than I am, and some of them are a couple decades older than I am, but it's so in that way, I don't think it's important to just have like your exact experience mirrored. I think it's important to, the community itself, especially with mine in particular, just sort of have somebody's to mirror in a different way, so that's my take on it.
Yeah, I would agree with Alexi. I think it doesn't necessarily need to be mirrored, but I think there might be some situations where it might help, right? If you've got somebody that's in a space where they're really struggling with identity or confidence, or being authentic and being who they are, and they're exploring the option of maybe coming out, then it might help to have a mentor that, you know, it has similar you know, sexuality or tendencies. So I think it really depends. My mentoring experience so far, there aren't parallels, and it's working really, really well. I think I've built a great rapport and we're really making good progress. So yeah, agree with Alexi.
Anything, Jack? I think you've mentioned a little bit about how valuable you found it to work with someone who was very different to you. I wonder if you had any thoughts along these lines.
Yeah, I think it's I don't think there's a one size fit all with any system or organization or anything. Like that's why it's like beneficial to have diverse kind of opportunities available to young people, and basically kind of being adaptable. So if you've got young people that would benefit from someone from a particular identity or sexuality or something, then that's great to be able to offer that. But then also there might be young people like myself who would prefer like someone very different to themselves at that point in their life, if that makes sense.
I would say, like, as everyone said, this is very much a case by case basis, because as I said, like for myself, at that time, at that age, I was just about like literally a few months later, I went uni and I finally had some freedom where I could express myself a lot more. And I had that mentorship with Kyra, and it helped a lot. But now with my current mentorship, me and my current mentor we have the only thing that we have in common is our shared values, experiences. He's able-bodied, and he's in the corporate world, more on the logistics side of Nike, and he does like sports, but not to the crazy extent that I do. For me, I'm physically disabled and deaf, and then you got the queer and transness, and the fact that I spend most of my time at wheelchair basketball. So it's like we don't have the same experiences, but we still have, like, honestly, we've had multiple times where we've ran over. So it's very much different. I feel like my current mentor at the time when I was 18, 19 would not probably have been like great for me, but definitely is great for me now. So again, it all depends on where the person is in their life at the time.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much for that. And I think certainly to give the, I suppose, say yes angle for us, it's very much about perspective, right? Broadening perspectives. So this would be the reason why we would have a young person come in for 9 months and then say, would you like to come back and work with another mentor? Because the more people you're meeting, the more the wider your network grows, the more perspectives you're taking on board. And, I think globally, the more we can all speak to people who are different from ourselves, the better. The more that we can look at those shared human values, and certainly the way that we are looking at things like, we're kind of we're working through a process. So I think this is the thing at Say Yes. It's much more about somebody who can guide you through a process of discovery about yourself than a person who's going to come in and say, well, come and be like me, necessarily, because there'll be lots of people to be like. A lesbian with a cat, how original. So I think that's kind of the angle that we would say. So the importance of working with different people who say those who have experiences similar to yours, those who have different ones. And Blanca, thank you for stepping in there. Definitely always helps to have common things, starting the conversation. And I think that's sometimes the beauty of seeing people work together, who you might think, gosh, these people don't have anything common. There is, often something. And we come at that through matching calls where we would get their mentor to talk about their values, interests, and personality, so that the young person could see where those things overlap for them and who would be a good fit for them. Ism, yeah.
There's also the fact that it's the mentor doesn't only educate us, re-educate, mentor, because I've learned so much on improving, for example, because I'm looking for a job currently in specifically around like sports media, sports journalism. That's what I'm really interested in, because I want to get improve para sports journalism in like and representation media. So that's something I'm really passionate about. And he helped me so much with applications on how to train myself for, gave me a different angle on how to get myself ready for that, for like applications and interviews and all that. And he has, on my side, he's like learned a lot about wheelchair basketball, about the differences, about like sport, like a bunch of sports. I have done way too many sports, skateboarding. So it's like it's a give and take relationship in the mentorship.
Very true, and I could certainly attest to that. From, I think I've done 4 mentorships myself. You certainly learn and gain perspective from the young people that you're mentoring just as much as they are hopefully learning things from you. Right, so I do have more questions, but I'm conscious of time, so I thought, actually, why don't we go to questions? Is there anybody with a burning question that they would like to put to one of the panelists, or the group as a whole? And Colleen is saying, yes, we do say that all the time from mentors. Can you speak to the importance of allyship and and what you would need from a hetero mentor? Interesting. So Colleen is dealing with a small child. But yes, the importance of allyship, that might be a question to consider, perhaps from Izem and Jack. And Zoe, pop your question in. Thank you very much. We'll come to that next.
Sorry, give me a sec. My dyslexia can't read this question. Give me a second.
We're talking about the importance of allyship. So yeah, what would you need from a cisgender hetero mentor? Somebody who isn't like you. How can a person create a safe, welcoming space, I suppose?
I would say kind of like I think this is something that's covered in like the initial, I can't remember if it's called ITP or the initial like meeting of where we're discussing the contract and all that.
Contracting, yes. So when we set you up with your mentor, agreeing what values you're going to share, how is that going to show up? Yeah,
it's some like the questions, and I when we were asked the questions, I said the same answer multiple times, which was just basic respect. It's a judgment-free zone, and like basic respect on a human level. At the end of the day, that's what it came to. Having an open mind and to the experiences of other people, because every person's individual. Like even in a non-queer aspect, every person has a different experience, and that experience is maybe not one that you've experienced yourself, as maybe other people in your life has not experienced, so it's new to you. So it's about taking it, listening, and responding in a non-judgmental way, so to speak. But yeah, just basic respect, isn't it? That's at the end of the day.
A lesson for us all to live by. Unless you had anything burning, Jack, that you wanted to say there, I'm going to hop to Zoe's question.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So Zoe was saying, so this is for the mentors amongst us. And actually, I believe we've all been mentors, because Jack, I know you've been a mentor on Say Yes as well as being a mentee. So it's saying, can you think of a time when you had to change tack during mentoring? So you were working with somebody and you realized, hey, I need to change course here. I'm throwing that open. Go, Simon.
Happy to answer. Very, very often. I think it's what I've learned on the journey so far as a mentor is that you have to be open to anything goes at the beginning of each session, because your mentee might be, what's been going on in the mentee's life, right? On that particular day, where their headspace is at. So one example might be, there's been a family crisis that particular day or that week, or it could be that there's some health issues that have come up. And whilst you may have said the previous week and agreed with your mentee, actually this week we're going to, go through ABC, or, it might, I'm just looking at the cute cats and
sorry,
cute kids are so cute. So changing course is a very, very common thing. And I've learned as a mentor that you have to be open-minded and versatile in that way. Otherwise, you're not really, following the Say Yes way, which is going at the mentee's pace. So it's often, and it keeps us on our toes as mentors. And we love that, right? That's part of it as well.
Thanks, Simon. Izem, it sounds like that moment where you had a young person open their backpack and say, look, here's my balaclava knife, I can't go to certain areas, might have been a moment where you suddenly had to change tack.
Yes. Mind you, because also at the time I was 19, I didn't exactly have the greatest big brains on decision making back then either. But I basically, I might have, I was a teenager also. At the end of the day, I was 19, so still a teenager, but I did kind of cuss him out in a way of going like, in what genius thoughts came into your head thinking this was a good idea? Obviously, as an adult now, I wouldn't have gone that method. But it's something that he needed because of the area that we grew up in, the upbringing that he had. So he got it in that aspect. Also, one of his friends recently had been jumped, so that also I feel like also had a factor on him going, oh, I need to stop. But yeah, I can speak more on a coaching aspect because I'm currently doing assistant coaching for wheelchair basketball, and currently I help with the juniors. So in a way, that's kind of mentoring, not in a full way. But there is this 10-year-old that we have, and you tell him one thing, he goes the other. And in basic rules, if you like offside, he kept on having his wheelchair go off the court. And I explained it in layman's terms. I was like, the ball will go to the other team. It took me having to go he was still doing it. And I was like, okay, how can I make him understand this is what this isn't the right thing to do? And he's Muslim, he's Moroccan as well, and I was there going, I was like, Idris, the line is haram. The line is haram. He got it immediately. I was there going, that's all.
So adapting to a relatable reference then.
Yeah. Because I'm Muslim as well, so I was there going like, okay, as a Muslim, as a Moroccan, what can I say that he would understand why doing that is not the best idea, or in other ways the healthiest idea if it was a different situation. And I'm just like going, that's wrong. And that's something he understands as a concept. He himself understands. I wouldn't be able to use that same reference to say another player or another junior, because they don't have that. They're not Muslim themselves. They're not coming from that same faith. But,
yes. So thinking about what's going to make sense for them.
So like each person, you have to kind of adjust how you react to each person at the end of the day, innit?
Yeah, thank you. Alexi, I'm wondering about your evolution as a mentor. So this is something that we actually ask our mentors when we have our initial interview with them, where we're kind of, letting them know about everything they should expect from Say Yes, is, thinking about your own experiences as a mentor. What have you found that you might have had to adjust in your approach? Is there something that you found going along that, actually I thought this would be effective, but actually it's not so effective? Or, how can I be supporting someone, you know, thinking about the difference between being effective and being right. How have you evolved, would you say, as a mentor?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you know, like you mentioned, it kind of started with my content, right? So it was just kind of like, I would just sort of put something out there that just happened to be relatable to a mass audience, and I would get these sort of, you know, affirming comments of like, oh yeah, same, me too, you know, post more about this. But when you're working one-on-one with somebody, it's much more of a I don't know, it's an exploration of like, okay, you know, when I first started creating content, for instance, it's like, it's an exploration of like, what's needed here, you know? So like in that way, it's similar, but it's one-on-one. So it's, you know, even kind of going back to the question, you know, have you worked with somebody that needed to change course? It's like, you know, maybe they'll come to me with, I don't know how to date, or I'm not good at dating or whatever, but it actually winds up being about something completely different because, you know, the reason they, I don't know, the reason that they're not dating actively is because they are afraid of how their parents are going to react, right? So it's like learning sort of where, you know, my lived experience can serve theirs, and or just listening, you know. So yeah, for me, it's kind of like a weird evolution, not weird, but a, you know, a kind of unique evolution from, you know, sort of speaking to an audience versus one person.
Yes, as you say, something, they come to you to work on one thing, but actually maybe the underlying issue is something entirely different. Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? When you were coming out, or perhaps if you're still somewhat in this position now, what kind of support would have been or would now be useful? So this can go beyond mentoring. Let's think about, think back to your baby gay self or baby trans self. Yeah, what support did you maybe not get that would have been useful, or did you have that was really useful? Simon, perhaps?
That's a great question, Fiona. I look back to my younger self and wish I had so much more support. I think definitely relatedness, someone to speak to, just to feel like I can be me, and share my thoughts and feelings and make sure that those are validated. I can think an example now, when I went on my year abroad at uni, I was 18, so this would have been about 1999, and just because I was curious about my sexuality, I remember walking around the streets of Paris. I was living in Paris at the time, just hoping to find a gay person, just to talk to, just to have a look. And what I did is I went to a bar, and I sat in a gay bar, and I just observed. And I just wanted to feel like I'm part of a community and that I'm actually okay to be me, because everywhere else in my life was all heterosexuals everywhere. So I feel like being paired up and matched up with you know, like-minded people back in the day would have been great. It wasn't available back then. It was still very much frowned upon to be gay. So I think that mentorship, of course, would have been wonderful had I had that. And I think today, although we still have a way to go in many areas, I think social media is helping us a lot with regards to that. I think, you know, public figures being out as gay, and I think it's helping us a lot as well. But yeah, my younger self didn't have such a good time of it, and I feel like we're making good progress, but there's somewhere to go yet. So yeah, I'd say in short, mentoring, pairing up with people, and just having like, you know, people to speak to, basically.
It's interesting what you say there about, yes, community and social media, because of course, yes, so what year did you say that was? 1999?
99.
You literally wandering the streets of Paris saying, hello, are there any gay people? Now your community is here, right? Or it can be, it can start here. I think that's probably a lifeline to many a person. Zoe, I do see your question. However, I'm conscious of time, and I know we've got a couple of things we want to do to wrap up, but maybe that's something for us all to think about, and we'll keep the meeting open for a few minutes afterwards, so we can think about how you have vibed very much with the person, then afterwards really realize, hey, they're queer as well. Now that friendship makes a lot of sense. or I've certainly had the experience where I've been surprised in the opposite direction, where I've realized looking back, like, oh, I totally just assumed that person was gay. And turns out, no, just sporty. So our gaydar can always be off. Right. Okay. Thank you very much for the questions that have come in. So, thank you all, especially to our panelists, for your heartfelt insights and powerful stories. I think it is clear that mentorship is not just guidance, as we spoke about, but it can be a lifeline, and it can, definitely help lead to community. Certainly, whether that be a mentor who is a sort of doorway into a community, or somebody who can work with you to help you not necessarily replace that, but to access that. So as we carry the spirit of Pride beyond the month, let's continue to uplift one another through connection, advocacy, and of course, mentorship. So we are going to end with a bit of a call to action. If you are inspired to become a mentor, support LGBTQ+ mentoring programs, or if you're in need of a mentor or you would like more information on mentorship programs, be sure to visit our website, so sayyesmentoring.org, or also Alexi's website, so aleximelvin.com, where you can sign up for one-on-one mentorship with Alexi, or via Say Yes, you can inquire about becoming a mentor or having a mentor. So be sure to follow Say Yes and Alexi on social media everywhere.